Cooperative games and solo games have gone hand in hand for a long time, as they naturally just tend to go together. But not every cooperative game plays good solo, and not every solo game plays great cooperative. So I want to take you on a little tour of my current top 10 favorite cooperative games to play solo. Again, this is subject to change. It will be ranked in order the best of my ability. Take it with a grain of salt. Howdy and welcome. I'm Mike, your board gaming every dude, and this is Board Games for One, number 10. All right, now for this one, we've got Horrified. This is American Monsters. That's the box I could pick up. I've actually played Hollywood Monsters, so that would probably actually be my favorite one, simply because I have more experience with it, and I started with it. This is also one of the first board games that I bought. I got it at Walmart before I ever found this store, actually. So I got it at Walmart, and that was the only game I saw up to that point that had a one-player option. So Horrified is a 1 to 5 player, I believe, cooperative experience, and it is truly a cooperative game. You can play this with 4 or 5 people, and you each get to control your own character with your own abilities, and what you are doing is you are in some ancient Victorian style town, or whatever the theme is. This is American Monsters, so you're dealing more with cryptids and things like that. But the Hollywood one is like Frankenstein, you know, those kinds of things. And there's a newest one. I don't remember what the theme is. It's something. We'll find out. But anyway, when you're playing it solo, you can play it truly solo, controlling just one character, going around this village where you are trying to complete missions in order to chase away or defeat or cure one of the monsters. So like in the case of the Invisible Man, you are trying to collect items, to get to a laboratory, to make something that works on, I don't remember if you heal the Invisible Man or if you just scare him away or if you kill him. I don't remember. And then you've got like Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein. Each of the monsters has their own difficulty level. I think some of them are like difficulty level of 1, and then you have your highest difficulty level that you can go against. You can go against more than one monster on the board. There are also NPC characters that are out on the board that you are trying to save, villagers that you are both trying to help and also pick up and deliver to different locations in order to get special things. There's a lot going on, but it's actually, this is a gateway game. This is truly a gateway game, even for solo. Gateway game. Horrified, $35 by Ravensburger. I know they won't put the designer, so if they do, I'm sorry. Oh, hey, tiny text. Mike Mulvihill. Thanks, Mike. 9. Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective. I would say this is, I actually enjoy this more cooperatively because of the people I played with. So you play as Sherlock Holmes solving a case. This one is the Carlton House in Queen's Park, which is the one that I have played. I haven't played all the cases in here yet. There's how many? 10 cases. 10 cases in here, and then you can buy different boxes that have different themes. I think like Jack the Ripper and whatever, Cobblestone Street, I don't know. There are lots of different themes. Arkham, many different themes. This is a paper game though, so there's no app, which I don't mind apps, but in this game I really enjoy that you are laying out paper maps. You are looking through paper newspapers for clues. You have the house, like layout, the blueprint of the Carlton house that you are looking at. And what you do is you pick a location when you're the playing character. If you're solo, it's always you. It plays exactly the same cooperative as solo. You just each take a turn investigating one spot if you're playing cooperatively. So you go to a spot, it tells you a number to go to in a book, you flip to the book, you read the script, you're given some options, you pick some options, you take notes to see if you can solve the case. You can solve the case at any point. When you're ready to solve the case, you go to the solve the case part section, you answer some questions, you check to see if you got it right. If you got it right, you go to see how many turns it took to get the right answer, and you get a score based on that. If you get a score of like over 100, something like that, then you are smarter than Sherlock, because you play as Sherlock's apprentice. I didn't care about scoring in the slightest in this. I just enjoyed laying everything out, sprawling it all over the table, trying to solve the case. Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, by people. Gary Grady, Suzanne Goldberg, and Raymond Edwards. You didn't put any symbols. I don't know who's the designer or the artist. Congratulations to all of you. 1 to 8 players, published by Space Cowboys. 8. A cooperative game that Is it a deck builder? I don't know. It's made of cards, and you're kind of building a deck. You start with it. It's almost like a living card game, but it's not a living card game like Marvel Champions. First, the negative. So it's a comic book. It's a comic book thing. It's not Marvel. It's not DC. It's its own thing with this classic golden age, style artwork where you play as a different hero. You get to pick your hero. I believe you always have to play as three. I think you always have to have three. I'll have to check on that. But anyway, you can do that solo. You cannot manage just one hero and survive this. You go up against a villain. The downside, as I said, the negatives first, there's a lot of accounting. You got tokens here that are saying, +1 damage, -1 defense. I loved that. I absolutely love that about this. I can't get into Marvel Champions. I've tried. I don't know why this one works for me when there's more accounting involved with this one. I think it's simply because the attacks in the battle feels more thematic. I like the artwork more. So maybe it's not the better game. To me, it absolutely is. Maybe it's subjective. I don't know. But in these fights, I felt like a superhero going against some unstoppable supervillain using all these super cool abilities. Every hero has a very unique ability. They complement each other. You can have your healer, your tank, your DPS. That's what I want. Sentinels of the Multiverse, designed by somebody. Why is this always so hard for me? Where's my brain? Greater than games. Thank you. Greater than games. It's not a toy. I got it. I'm sorry, designer. I'll give you credit when I find out. Number 7. All right, so one of my favorite games that actually got me into board gaming. This is the first one that I bought from this store, actually. This is Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core. Now, a warning, they don't tell you on the box, at least they didn't used to. They probably still don't. You have to actually put the miniatures together for the aliens, or I guess the xenomorphs, and the soldiers, characters, Ripley, all that you play as, all right? So you got to know you're going to be spending some time. You got to cut, you got to have glue and all that to put everything together. That's kind of why the price point is $62.99, which I know is still high. There is a lot of replayability. So what Aliens is a cooperative game. If you're playing it solo, you can play as true solo, just one character, or you can play as up to 5, I believe. 1 to 4, 1 to 5, what are you? 1 to 6. You can play it, you can control up to 6 characters. You play the movie. The base game is going to take you up through about halfway through the movie. If you want to finish it and get all the way to the Queen in the end, where you actually fight in the loader and all that stuff, you have to buy the expansion with the Queen. It's called Get Away From Her, and I won't say the rest. But anyway, that's the name of it. So this, I have sold on the entire thing. However, or traded it away, I guess. That doesn't mean it's not one of my favorites. I played the life out of this. I played through the whole story. I played the bug hunts. I had all the expansions. And I keep getting tempted to get it again. But I resist that. I would rather you play it. And I'll show some of the shots, of course, as we're talking about this here. But what you get to do is you are basically fighting off hordes of aliens that appear at different spawn points randomly throughout the board. How many appear are determined by what cards you flip over. So there's all kinds of randomness in this difficulty level. I would say is like moderate to hard. It's not impossible by any means. You can win most games. Every now and then you're going to lose because of chance, but that's really rare. Once you know the strategy, you can win most games. If you want to make it harder, then you play the optional bug hunts that don't go by the story, but they're just far more challenging. As far as the expansions, if you enjoy this, then you have to get the Queen one because you have to finish the story. There's some cool effects that happen on the board, like the airlock controls. The airlock actually opens and it affects how you play. You get sucked into it. So does the alien, so does your loader. It's pretty cool how they manage that. There's also a middle scene, a chase, where you're in the, I call it a rover, but whatever large, scary military vehicle driving through with alien hordes trying to break in, and you actually move this massive vehicle. Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core. Aliens, Gale Force 9. I don't see a name on the box, so we're just going to have to live with that. Number 6. Let's pull out the toolkit. Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. And this is Fantasy Flight Games. This is my favorite of their campaign games like this, at least between this and Imperial Assault, because one, this is not dice-based, this is card-based, so even though it is luck mitigation and all that, it's more about controlling your deck, thinning out the cards you don't want, putting in the cards you do want in order to take actions. you are playing through the Lord of the Rings, but you are not playing through the main story, the main trilogy, nor anything that's really canon. I wouldn't say it's really an epic story, but it's still a good story. You're playing mostly as side characters, though there are some of the main characters from the movie as well. But, or I guess from the books, oh my goodness, the movie. You can play this as a, can you play this as a true solo with just one character? I believe you always have to have two. It's been a year since I played it, but I played through all 10. I believe there are 10 full missions that last several hours, 2-3 hours for me anyway, each. But anyway, played through all of them, and I had two characters, so I'm pretty sure you have to do that. Each one has their own role, like a true role-playing game. You can play more as the ranger, the hunter, the one that can mitigate damage, just somewhat of a healer, crowd controller, not entirely. You've got your tank, you've got your damage dealers. Everyone's a damage dealer to a degree, but like you can have a musician that's a little more of a support role. So I went for like the tank with the defensive abilities, and then the support character. I don't remember her name. Alani? Something like that. Again, it's been a little while. Absolutely loved the experience. So I played through the whole thing once, and bit of a... So a nice thing is it uses an app that does save as you go. The app is required. If you don't like apps, you won't be into this. So you use the app to help you set up the board and to manage battles. So the app actually controls and lets you know the damage that enemies are leaving and giving to you, that kind of thing, so you don't have to track all of that for yourself. The way the board is you build the board as you explore. You have these like hexagonal, oddly shaped pieces, and the app guides you in how to set up each scenario. You explore and you find more and more. It gets more and more dangerous. Enemies get placed, and it does work something like a timer. There's something called threat, I believe, and the threat goes up more and more as you play through the scenario, so you don't have forever to just explore and find items. And there's all kinds of places that you can explore, but you just won't have the time based on the threat. So you have to make hard decisions in order to keep moving through. If you do want to be able to just explore, then you can play through in, I believe it's called adventurer mode, where you don't have that timer working against you, making it harder and harder so that you're going to die no matter what once you reach a certain level. Lord of the Rings, Fantasy Flight Games. Who's the designer? If you don't put it on the box, I can't find it. I'm sorry. 1 to 5 players. We don't care about that. You can control 1 to 5 characters. Number 5. Great. Nemesis Lockdown. Now, why did I pick this over the OG Nemesis? Do we still say that? Is that what the young people are saying, the OG? I don't know. It's new to me. It makes me feel cool, so I'm saying it. Nemesis Lockdown. Between the two, I feel this is the better game, even though it adds another layer of complexity due to managing the power, turning the power on and off. However, turning the power on and off helps you mitigate luck. I believe there's less swing in this game because of that power mechanic, so I just think it does it better. However, Nemesis, the OG, has a better environment. I prefer the ship, although the layout of this one is larger. So you're in an underground bunker where you're underneath the surface. Bad things are happening. So it's basically Alien, but in a bunker. It is not Aliens, all right? So you're in a bunker. Corporation is coming to possibly save you or kill you. You're on a timer. Aliens are trying to kill you. You also have an objective to complete when you're playing solo. When you are not playing solo, this is a silly microphone flipping all over the place like it's crazy pants. This semi-cooperative, you have cooperative objectives and secret objectives that may actually pit you against the other players, and none of you really know what's going on. So this is both a semi-cooperative game and a cooperative game and a solo game, and I believe it is equally strong on all three of those. When you're playing it solo, though, you do need to account for swing. This is a cinematic experience. I don't mean to overuse that term with this game and Final Girl, Hostage Negotiator, things like that, but cinematic experiences have swing. This one has the most mitigated. Nemesis Lockdown. Oh yeah, Awakened Realms, and Adam, I've tried to say your name, Kwapinski. Also want to show you up here, the store, they got some recommendations, some different ones than I picked actually. let me see which ones have one player. They've got Hellboy the board game, never played. We got the Yawning Portal, never played. Marvel Dagger, I've heard things about, never played. And Endangered. A lot of things I haven't tried, so you might want to check those out as well. Getting down there, number 4. It's actually hard to fit this one in the screen. I will do my best to put some screenshots over this as well. Detective City of Angels. This is more of a semi-cooperative game that can be played solo. I'm sorry, I gotta hold it down here so you can stare at my face, because it's important. All right, there we go. The solo mode is actually completely separate from the semi-cooperative mode. In the semi-cooperative mode, it's one versus several. So you play, one person plays as the chisel. They know the case. They know the solution. They know everything. They're sort of like the game master, the dungeon master, something like that. And they are working both with and against the detectives. The detectives are working cooperatively, but they're also competing to solve the mystery first, to be the one to take the credit. So they're also not working cooperatively, so semi-cooperatively, working together where they have to, but competing to get there first. And as the chisel, you can make the game as easy or hard as you like. However, the game manages a lot of the decisions you make. So if you have the option of telling the truth to an answer, so like a detective might move their detective to a location to interrogate a suspect and ask a question, then you, as the chisel, have the option of giving them a few different false responses or a true response that's not helpful. However, there are things that detectives can do to mitigate that, and they are preset answers. So you've got like a card with like true, false, false, false. You pick one of those things. Anyway, the solo game is a little bit different. In the solo game, you are simply, of course, playing against the game. The game plays as the chisel, and you are able to just solve this mystery all by yourself. So the ideal thing that I find is to play each case solo, and then if you have the opportunity or want to, play as the chisel with your friends. That way you get the most out of this game. It is $70. Hey, I think it's gone down. I thought it used to be $90. There's, I believe, 10 cases in here. I have played through every single one. I have all the expansions, back to the most recent crowdfunding, so I'll have those 3 cases as well. This truly lets you feel like a detective, more so than something like Chronicles of Crime. In this, if you follow your gut detective instincts, and they're good, you will arrive at solving the case, or at least as close as possible. So it's quite ingenious. The way you do it is you move a detective around 2 locations on an actual board. When you get to that location, you can search around the scene, you can interrogate suspects, and what you have is a guide that tells you where to go in a narrative book in order to find the responses from the characters. You can also you can end up being fed lies by the game or truths, and you can mitigate that with some of your own actions. Detective City of Angels, Van Ryder Games. I know it's Evan Derrick. Number 3, Robinson Crusoe. Really can't have a co-op list without this, and it could fight for number 1, but it's just not there right now. But I did back the deluxe edition that's coming out through Portal Games, designer Ignacy Chevicek, and I'll do a full unboxing, playthrough, tutorial, the whole shabam once that comes in. It should be next year during the spring. But anyway, Robinson Crusoe is also a survival game. It's a survival exploration experience where you can play one of 6 scenarios that comes with the game. There's a tutorial scenario, and then it advances harder and harder and harder. Each a standalone scenario. This is not a campaign. However, whether the new version is coming with a campaign, I don't know. I know it's coming with an open and play scenario, so I'm eager to try that and share it with you to see does it really work, because this rule book, the printed physical copy, is notorious for putting you to sleep. It's a wonderful narrative, but boy, it took me days and nap after nap to get through, and it's not entirely necessary. There is an app, a Portal Games app, that has the instruction booklet, and it's supposed to be a updated and much more concise, easily organized version. I can't say, since I learned on the rule book, I can't really relearn it for the first time again. So you may want to try that. It's not a bad rule book. It's just, it's a lot of it's old style. It's old fashioned. Anyway, you're on a map as Robinson Crusoe or other people surviving on this island, and you have a mission that you have to accomplish. To accomplish that, you have to survive against weather, which is constantly changing. You have to build shelters. You have to collect food. You have to go hunting. You have to fight people trying to kill you for really no good reason at all if y'all just would talk, but I guess there's a language barrier that comes into play. Robinson Crusoe. And you can play it true solo as one character with an assistant, Friday, and his dog, or you can play solo cooperatively where you control two characters instead. So far, I've preferred actually cooperative with two characters over the true solo mode, but I'll play it again, see what you think. What do you think? Oh yeah, Robinson Crusoe, $60. Number 2. This should actually be my number 1, completely subjective as there is so much going wrong that has been fixed and things like that, but still it had to be fixed. Should be number 1. I can't justify that sharing it with others. I don't recommend that you buy this game. I absolutely love it. It's for the fanboys. Etherfields by Awaken Realms. This is truly, in my opinion, a solo game that can be played cooperatively. You can totally play it cooperatively. You control your own character with their own special abilities. 4 different characters can be chosen. You can play solo as just one character, managing one hand. You are entering a dream world where you have like an overworld map that you move around, and then you zoom into smaller dreams, locations, and once you're in there, you have to solve all kinds of mysteries and puzzles and go to a script book to find out what's going on. The story is told, it's a very dreamlike story, it's very wandering. So I wouldn't say it's the most amazing story, but it is interesting. It keeps me going. It is actually a sci-fi game. All right, so even though it's in like a beautiful dream world / nightmare dream world, it is actually a sci-fi game, and you'll see that as you play through it. This is more of a deck builder, though it's a limited deck builder. You're able to buy cards to improve your hand for your character. However, once you get enough of them, you don't really feel a need to buy more. It's more selecting the right hand for each dream that you enter. Some of the slumbers can get tedious. I don't mind it so much, but there are optional game modes where you can basically turn off the slumbers, so you don't have to go through them. Slumbers are like individual monster encounters that you go through as you travel before you get to like the big dream where you get to go in and actually do some story, a little bit of exploring, solving puzzles. It's not a combat game. If you're looking for a combat game, go elsewhere. This is solving puzzles. The reason it's broken, the board design is beautiful, but it's like completely stupid. Makes no sense. If you want the board to work, you have to cut it, or you can play without the board. That's a problem. The first rulebook was a mess. They've made a version 2.0. You can download it or buy expansions to get it, if I understand correctly. Still, absolutely love this game. It has the slide in at number 2, and I'm sorry for that. Woo, $223. I mean, that's life. Big minis, things like that, but that's Awaken Realms stuff, you know? This is a good time to bring it in as well. This is a sponsored video. I do one of these sponsored videos for Cape Fear Games every month, gladly. I'm so sorry for them. I don't know why they do that, but whatever. Anyway, how it can benefit you. If you want to support this channel, I appreciate that very much. It means a lot. So you can hit the like and you can subscribe. You can also support monetarily if you would like and benefit yourself. So what it is Cape Fear Games has a deal with this channel where you can go online, the link's in the description and in the pinned comment below. You can pick any of the games that are going to come up when you click that link, as well as you can search for any of the other board games. We try to get the ones that I feature each month up there, so you can search for that. If when you check out, you use the code BOARDGAMES4ONE, one word, then you get 10% off, but you also get free shipping within the United States. So that's competitive with Amazon, an excellent deal. Don't worry if that's not for you, but I like that it's there. It benefits Cape Fear Games, it benefits myself, benefits you. Back to the games. And finally, number 1. This War of Mine, the board game. This is from Awaken Realms. Well, look, it's Awaken Realms on the website. On here, it's 11-Bit Studios and Galacta. I don't know what's going on. So, that's life. Michael Oraz and Jacob Wisniewski. The people who made this game, they did some serious research. So, in this War of Mine, which, by the way, I have a full tutorial and playthrough up on my channel. If I can remember it, I'll put the card right up there. If I didn't, I'm so sorry. Just look at my finger pointing up and laugh at me for forgetting. Surely I'll get it. Anyway, 1 to however many players, 1 to 6 players can play this cooperatively. It isn't truly a cooperative game. This is truly a solo game that has some modifications that allow you to play with another player or several players. I would only recommend that if you're into role-playing games, as in like tabletop RPG type of things, where each of you gets to take a turn doing a player action. Then the next player takes a turn for a player action. But you all work cooperatively. You all make decisions together. It's just when you are the controlling player, you get the last say. That's the only difference. There's no other difference in playing it solo. In this, you are in a city that's under siege. This is a gritty game. I don't want to call it dark. I would call it possibly emotional. There's a wonderful review on Board Game Geek that I link in the initial tutorial video when I'm unboxing of someone who survived the siege in Sarajevo, and he breaks down how accurate this game is. He even breaks down the phases of the game. So the game starts at dawn, I believe, and then it works to morning, daytime. No, it starts in the morning, and then daytime, evening, nighttime, scavenging night raids, and dawn, something like that. But in each one of those phases, there are different things that you can do, and he breaks down how accurate that was to real life. That's something I enjoyed about this. It is a storytelling game of survival. So you do have a book where you are instructed at certain points to flip to different scenarios in the book in order to read what happens, what options you have. Your goal is you always have to play with 4 characters. Well, you start with 3, I'm sorry. You always start with 3 characters. You can have up to 4. So you can end up taking different people into your shelter at different points, but never more than 4 at a time. And if all of them are gone, dead, or flee, then of course you lose the game. You win the game by surviving to the end of a campaign, which happens over a series of 7 to 9 days. It's randomly chosen when the game ends. So somewhere at 7 to 8 or... No, I believe it's 8, 9, or 10, actually. There's always going to be 7 days. Yeah, so it's going to be 8, 9, or 10 days that the game will end. Anyway, what you do is early in the day, you gather resources in your shelter. So it's like a worker placement. Then you go out scavenging later on. You have to feed everyone and give them water every day as well. So you're collecting that. And there are negative consequences if you cannot do that. They may get fatigued, hungry, all those things. Watch the video on it. This War of Mine. Beautifully emotional game. Definitely my #1 co-op for right now. It is $73, $72.99.